Japan is the country with the highest life expectancy in the world. This is a medical fact. Lifestyle, medicine, and technology. All of this allows an average Japanese person to live at least until the age of 80. But what do people in Japan do at that age? Here, all the grandmas and grandpas ride bikes at full speed. Red underwear for good luck. Everything is red. Red pants, red cats, red scarves, red socks. Now we all will be happy and healthy.
This is so the elderly stay energetic forever. I love singing karaoke.
Beautiful vests with thermal lining have arrived. No one gets cold. Come and buy. You want some?
We are not here for youth fashion.
In this video, I want to understand what it's like to grow old in one of the most technological countries in the world. What is life like in a state where every third person is a retiree? Caused the emergence of cleanup services for solitary deaths in Japan, and what is it like to face death in a society driven by the fear of burdening others? In Tokyo, there is Harajuku, a very colorful neighborhood where Japanese youth subcultures buy clothes and other things. Sugamo is the Harajuku for grandmas. In the center of the neighborhood, there's a temple that is 430 years old. The elderly have been coming here for decades to pray for health. And around the pilgrims, a whole street of stores specialized in senior citizens grew. This place is the Mecca for elderly Japanese. I decided to start studying the phenomenon of Japanese longevity here. The main sanctuary of the temple is the statue of Canon, the goddess of mercy and compassion. It is outdoors, right in the temple courtyard, and its surface is polished to a shine. Every day, a line forms before her. The elderly take a towel, the kind they sell right here, and begin the ritual. Take water, pour it over the statue, and rub with the towel exactly the part of the body that hurts them.
Canon is the most popular bodhisattva in Japan. Here, as you see, this woman cleans the statue very carefully using the cloths. This is also a kind of meditation. It is done according to each person's feelings, but according to tradition, you must rub where it hurts.
And it's not just about rubbing parts of the statue. Perhaps the Japanese live long because they try never to stop working. 1 out of 2 Japanese over the age of 70 continues to work even after their formal retirement. And among all pensioners, meaning including the oldest ones, 1 out of 4 works. The full basic pension in Japan is about 70,000 yen a month, around $440. And that's only if you contributed for many, many years. But if a retiree did not make contributions the whole time, for example, did it only for 10 years, then the pension will be 17,000 yen, about $107. As you can imagine, life in Japan is very expensive. It is important to keep in mind that this is precisely the basic pension and not the retiree's total income. There may also be supplements in the form of an additional corporate pension for those who worked as employees or in the form of income from cumulative pension plans. But how did it come to be that in Japan, payments to the elderly are so low? The pension system was built in the 1960s, when Japanese people retired at age 60 and died at approximately 70. Now they live on average to 84 years old, and not even raising the retirement age can solve the problem. The fund was calculated for 10 years of payments, and now they have to pay for about 20. As a result, 1 out of 5 Japanese over the age of 65 lives in poverty.
In today's Japanese society, the number of elderly people is increasing. What do you think about this? It is a very complex issue. From abroad, we probably look like a country of mummies. Every year, the elderly pass away, and young people do not come to replace them, right? The generations are culturally very far apart. We live as if in different worlds. I understand. And tell me, are you working somewhere now? Of course, why wouldn't I? It's a simple, ordinary job. Sweeping the street here, helping out at a construction site there. Physical work. You have to work in both heat and cold. But I prefer the heat. I don't like the cold, it affects your health. Yes, my health is not very good. I have fractures in 4 places. Everything hurts. And I have to work until late at night.
Where do Japanese retirees usually work most often? In retail, more than 14% are there, and almost the same amount in healthcare and the care of the oldest seniors. 12% are employed in this area. Later, they themselves take the places of those they used to care for. It's a kind of cycle of Japanese old age. But working in old age in Japan is not always hard and poorly paid work. There are those who found their calling a very long time ago and don't plan on leaving it.
Look, ma'am, this is very delicious. You're going to like it. Let me wrap it for you. It's cold. Let me wrap it for you. Thank you very much. Do we have any fish roe left over there? Are they all gone? Finished? This is the last one. Yes, and it also has a 100 yen discount, so take it. Yes, this one is with salt. And this one too. Take it, take it.
She is Grandma Tokoro, a legend of the Tsukiji fish market. She owns a small kiosk where she sells pollock and salmon roe. She is 80 years old. Every day she gets up at 5 in the morning to prepare the merchandise. She worked alongside her husband, then took over the business herself, raised 3 children, and all of this while working at her kiosk.
Be more careful. There is a cane there. It's dangerous, right? Don't run with the cane. Be more careful.
Are you tired of working?
You know, with age I get tired. It's not like when I was young, but in 60 years I never missed work, not even once. Before, I didn't know tiredness. I did everything with enthusiasm. But now I have to leave many things to my children. Now I do get tired.
So, is there someone to continue your business?
Yes, the successor is my son. He is my heir.
In Japan, the elderly tend to work a lot, don't they?
Here at the Tsukiji market, there is no retirement age. As long as there is strength, everyone works hard. After all, we are Japanese, and Japanese people are full of energy.
Now there is an active debate that they want to introduce a 4-day work week to make Friday a 3rd day off, and thus have more time for the family. I'm interested in your opinion. How effective do you think it is?
I think that the more you work, the richer you become. Although under the influence of other countries and cultures, our Japanese attitude towards work is also changing.
Everyone would like to have more money and work less.
Nowadays, everyone wants that.
We are not a corporation. This is a private store, so we have to work. With days off, we can forget about profits. Could you tell us if you have a dream?
Well, how can I say it? I love this business very much. Living a long life and having the opportunity to keep doing this work. That is my dream. Work is my dream.
You know, there are many fans of Mom here and many customers who have been coming for decades. We are already on the 3rd generation.
Yes, and I am proud that in 60 years I never called in sick. Only when I gave birth to my children did I take time off, of course.
More than half of working retirees in Japan point out that the main reason is their financial situation. However, around 15% talk about something different, the need to feel useful. To understand why the Japanese work in old age, it is necessary to know 2 cultural concepts, Maywaku and Ikigai. They function like 2 powerful engines. Maywaku means causing inconvenience to those around us. For an older person, this meant becoming a burden to their family in old age. By continuing to work, the Japanese prove to themselves and others that they remain participants in events and not mere observers. This philosophy keeps people on their feet until they are 80 or 85 years old, and sometimes even until 90. The second engine is Ikigai, the meaning of life.
Ikigai is like living.
The concept of Ikigai means the feeling of having one's own purpose in life.
To understand why the Japanese live so long and what this leads to, I met with Hiroshi Ono, a professor at Hitotsubashi University, one of Japan's most important educational centers. He studies how the Japanese work and age.
There's also a word called hataraki.
Gai is related to the idea of purpose, and iki means to live. In Japanese, there is also the word hararakigai, which means a meaningful job.
Aspects in the way
We tend to seek and find meaning in the most diverse aspects of our lives.
ikigai, we might
For example, for someone, family might be their ikigai. Those people live for and because of their family. In contrast, hatarakigai occurs when a person works because they want self-fulfillment, and family can give meaning to life. If we talk about how this affects our well-being, I think that when a person has a goal in life, that fills them from the inside and gives them a sense of satisfaction. Probably, this is what sustains not only our spirit, but also our physical health.
This last thesis is fully confirmed by the owner of a store whom I met absolutely by chance. Here is a small and adorable store. Now we are trying to find the owner and find out where she got all this wealth here. Garlic, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers. Right here there is a small restaurant that is not working right now.
Where are you from?
From Russia.
Spasiba, poka poka. Please enter.
Your store is very beautiful. We came in by chance.
Thank you. Look at the authentic Japanese style. We have the menu in English. There is a lunch menu for one person. Right here you can choose the dish. For an additional 200 yen, you can order coffee or tea, and all the drinks are indicated here.
And is this a family business?
And how do you say yes in Russian?
Da.
Da! Oh, how simple!
For how many generations have you been dedicated to this store?
It really looks old, but it has only been running for 20 years. Yes, my husband is a vegetable wholesaler. His grandmother already started this wholesale business. And my husband lived in this house until he was 17 years old. Now we moved to another place, and this house became a store. I myself didn't work anywhere before, but then my children grew up, finished their university degrees, and I was left with a kind of emptiness in my chest. And my husband, who is actually already 77 years old, suggested opening the store. After all, the little house was just sitting there empty anyway. My husband swims 4 kilometers every day at the sports club. We were lucky. We don't work for anyone, and yet we prosper. Otherwise, the truth is that there are very many vacancies for older people, and these are presented in the Silver Employment Centers. It is a state service for the employment of senior citizens. So those whose health allows it work as much as they can.
And do you work during retirement, mainly for social reasons, or, after all, economic ones?
To be honest, our pension is not bad. You could not work. It wouldn't allow for luxuries, but you can live. The most basic pension is actually small. There are 3 levels of retirement: national, corporate, and private. And the smallest is the national pension, for self-employed workers, from their own contributions. A retiree who receives only this one will have just a bit over 60,000 yen. The corporate pension is added on top of this, and it is approximately double. In addition, it depends on the salary, so each person already has an individual amount. If you receive the national and corporate one, on average you get between 170,000 and 180,000 yen. So I think you can live well. But with those 60,000 yen from the national pension, one probably could not survive in Japan. That's why they are forced to go to work.
And suddenly, friends, we find ourselves in a residential neighborhood, judging by the architecture and the layout of the streets. But in reality, this is that same Sugamo, the neighborhood for grandmas. Its entire economy is adapted for people over 60 years old. There are truly many elderly people here. All the grandmas and grandpas are riding bicycles here in a hurry. Wow, look, Japanese fashion.
Oh, yes.
Vests for grandmas.
The joy of grandmas, of course.
Most of the retail outlets here are precisely for Japanese grandmas and grandpas. How are grandmas dressed in Russia? Usually in housecoats. Those typical flowery housecoats in which they sit on the bench next to the building entrance, spending the day and gossiping about everyone. The clothes of Japanese grandmas are different. They have more style, I don't know. But you can still tell it's for grandmas. And with floral designs, meaning everywhere there is a lot of this type of floral decoration. Wow, customers just arrived. They are looking, truth is it's beautiful, yes. My friends, here you can buy some luxurious vests. Everything is very beautiful with thermal lining so no one gets cold. Please buy! Do you like it? No, that one is going to fit you very well. There are many floral ornaments. Since it is winter now, all these little flowers are here. There is even a kind of winter kimono, little pants, and that's it. And what's interesting, everything is in those violet, red, and burgundy tones. That is to say, something like orange, warm tones, there are none. Everything is mainly in these cold colors.
Since they sell them, people like us buy them. That's why we came here to shop. We are not here for youth fashion.
Red underwear, look.
Seriously?
Well, yes.
No way. Let's see, friends. We found a store with red underwear. It seems like a joke, but no. Here, in all seriousness, there is an entire store of red underwear. Red underwear for good luck, and everything in red. Red pants, red cats, red scarves, red socks. Wearing it all, we will be very happy and healthy.
Sorry to bother you, but could I ask you a question? We are foreigners and we are curious. Why are all the clothes here red? The t-shirts, the shirts, and the underwear.
This is so older people stay energetic forever. Red is given as a gift and worn with that wish.
Ah, I see.
Or, for example, for the celebration of 60 or 70 years. This is worn at festivities. The family gives it as a gift.
That sign is ambitious. Look, the main or first store of red underwear in Japan. As we were telling you, red underwear is for good luck. It is to be energetic, healthy, and so on. And on top of that, New Year is just around the corner. It means that, consequently, one can also get some red underwear, for example, with a horse, which, as a symbol of the Chinese New Year, represents health. And here it turns out that you end up multiplying, so to speak, the beneficial properties of the red color.
Here is the famous red underwear. This is for health, right?
Uh-huh.
Just so you understand, friends, there is underwear here for absolutely every taste. There is underwear with support for the buttocks, of this type and that type. There are some with different lace. Well, a true beauty. They are warm and very cozy. Oh, and this?
And this is the symbol of the neighborhood, Sugamo.
No, but are these like plush? Well, maybe these are better. These are more cheerful.
Yes, of course. Take these, sure. Look, you put them on and the tummy stays warm.
Simply fantastic. The best red underwear in Tokyo.
And here are some black ones, but on the inside they are still red anyway, so that luck doesn't leave you. Let's see. And what kind of little suit is this? This is a classic look for an older person who, for whatever reason, has to spend most of their time outdoors. For example, if a person owns a kiosk, they will put something like this over their clothes, or straight up something identical. Here you have it, please. And all of this is be made in Japan, you see?
Ah, so this is, look, yes, this fashionable little suit.
Traditional ones too. They are warm. These are quilted pants. This is called yako hanten, or simply hanten. It is literally a kimono padded with cotton. It's very comfortable. Great, it fits very lightly. In itself, it is very lightweight. You don't sweat in it, and it maintains its own temperature. Literally, this is the character for cotton. Made in Japan, this character means cotton, and made in Japan. Oh, fashionable hairstyles.
You can buy a little wig. Wigs specifically for baldness, right?
Well, yes.
Micro-wigs.
This is to increase volume.
You can place it on top, do a touch-up. And it's a store for canes and all those bags.
Canes, bags,
What beauty.
walkers.
This is not a walker, it's a shopping cart.
I think it's a walker, or a cart, or even a wheelchair.
And these are some supports for the head for the arm, see? You can put it under the buttocks, under the arm. Meaning, if everything already hurts, you can find a comfortable position with the help of this small support.
In Japan, there is a concept called seiza. Seiza is when you sit on the floor and on the tatami. Well, strictly speaking, seiza translates as the correct sitting posture. When you sit on your knees with your back straight. It is very difficult to sit like that even if you are young, but you are not used to that posture. And in old age, it turns out to be even more complicated. That's why these special little stools exist. Originally, they are so that it is comfortable to sit in this traditional Japanese posture of seiza. And then they can already be used, like many other Japanese things, since they occupy a fairly large space in a small Japanese house, they need to be multifunctional. Otherwise, people simply wouldn't buy them. Therefore, they can be used not only for their first or primary purpose, but also for these other different ways of use.
And also here, on the outskirts, you can see these cute devices here. They have two buttons. The first button is in case you are blind. If you press it, an acoustic signal sounds when it's safe to cross. The second button is in case you walk slowly. If you press this button, the traffic light phase will stay green longer. This is what taking care of older people means. The Japanese created one of the most adaptive transportation systems in the world. In every train, you will find priority seats for older people. They are called silver seats. There are elevators practically at all stations, as well as tactile paving for visually impaired people and low-floor buses with ramps. In short, everything is well thought out. For residents over 70 years old in Tokyo, there is the Silver Pass. If income is low, the annual pass costs only 1,000 yen. With higher incomes, it is around 12,000, but many still prefer the bicycle. People came again on their bicycles. Wow, what a line! Are they selling cheap mandarins? Here you see something simply unheard of for Japan. Bicycle parking is not organized, meaning people simply arrived here at the store and parked their bicycles right in front of it.
It's because this is an old neighborhood. In all old neighborhoods, everything is done the old way. Meaning, since in the 1950s, the concept of bicycle parking didn't even exist. Right. So to this day, it keeps functioning under the same principle.
People in Japan have the highest life expectancy on the planet. For women, life expectancy is an average of 87 years. For men, 81 years. Comparison, in Russia, men live on average up to 68 or 69 years.
It seems to me that we have a pretty good diet. We don't overeat.
We don't stuff ourselves.
Our diet helps us lead a healthier lifestyle. For example, we always eat in small portions. We have the expression harahachibu, which means you should eat until you are filled only to 80%. Here, it is not customary to eat until you burst. Rather, that is frowned upon. People try to avoid overeating. Another important factor is the healthcare system. In my opinion, we have it at a fairly high level. People have access to quality medical care. In many countries, that simply does not exist. Well, and if we talk about the social aspect, I feel that we place a lot of importance on human relations.
But something tells me that correct nutrition is far from being the main secret of Japanese longevity. And many Japanese surely think of it differently. I think we can talk to this gentleman. See how they place these metallic pieces so there is no mud?
And what is this bonfire here for? For the parishioners to warm themselves. Before they were cold, but now they warm up. I am a volunteer. And apart from volunteering, do you have any other job? Yes, of course I have another one. I manage as best I can. I have a financial question for you. Can I ask you about the pension? In your town, can you live on the pension? Are there people who lead that lifestyle? Yes, many people here live on their pension. I am retired. But at the same time, you work? Yes, I work. When you reach a certain age, even if you try to do the work like before, it doesn't turn out the same. The strength is no longer the same. It's as if there's no more energy and you feel like resting, but living only on the pension is difficult. Here in the mountains, generally life is cheap. Prices don't compare to those in the city. Salaries and pensions don't compare to those in the city either. Here they are much lower. Living on the pension in the city and in the countryside are completely different things. The pension is calculated based on the salary, and here the salary is not like in Tokyo. So living here on a single salary is not easy. Here, it is difficult to accumulate for a large pension. It's enough for the basics, but only for a very simple life. Obviously, if I had a business, that would be another story. So, a personal question. How old are you? If you don't want to, don't answer. It's fine. Well, you guys can probably estimate by eye how old I am. With the Japanese, it is sometimes impossible to guess the age, even if you said you were retired. I just spoke with a local resident and, I thought he was 62 years old, but he turned out to be 77. It is simply surprising. It seems to me that the Japanese live in another world. Our secret is in moving, in taking care of health, staying active as much as you can. The main thing is not to get sick with anything serious. As long as you can work, do it, and your health will not fail you. Yes, Japanese longevity is something legendary. Foreigners actually envy you. Thank you for your work and for your answers. If one doesn't work, one ends up staying stuck to the chair. One can, of course, leave work, only eat, drink, and sleep at this age. But is that really a life?
And whoever knows how to work knows how to rest. I met this grandma in the Japanese tourist resort of Beppu.
Well, of the available entertainments, here we have the little park and Pachinko.
Oh, really?
And to eat something delicious.
Well, that's true. And as for hobbies, the people who live here, don't they have some hobby?
Any special hobby? The people of Beppu don't have that, no. Here, everything revolves around the onsens.
Onsens are good, yes. But in the sea, I haven't seen many people, and on the beach either.
Where?
Do people swim in the sea?
Well, in summer, of course they swim. We have a beach called Sunayu.
Ah, I see.
The whole city gathers there.
And do older people have any work? How are they with employment?
There are not that many elderly working here, but if they work occasionally, it is in ryokans or in hotels. Many simply live in nursing homes. They spend time together there. And it's not bad there. You have both care and food. Getting a job is not that easy. In the hotel, they don't hire you as a waiter and they don't need cleaning staff.
Does that mean older people live off their pension?
Yes, and those who have children do well. Those who have a wife and children, they look after them. But for single people, retirement is boring. Here, you either go to the park or play pachinko or eat delicious food. After all, we have many parks in the city. You could walk. The only problem is these hills. It's too much to walk around all at once. Here, there is no snow, of course, but on the hills, it can sometimes still be dangerous. You trip and go rolling down the slope, so sometimes you have to travel by taxi. Those who live by the sea in the lower part of the city have it convenient. There are many stores and there is a shopping center. Yes, everything is here and everything is close. That's great. The only thing is that there isn't much place to work.
Can I ask you another personal question? How old are you now?
I am 84 years old.
You don't look it at all.
Want me to surprise you? I love singing karaoke.
Work is, in truth, one of the secrets of Japanese longevity, and this is a scientific fact. Scientists from Tokushu University closely followed 43,000 Japanese people for 7 years. Those who did not have an Ikigai died 1.5 times more frequently, especially from cardiovascular diseases. But what about those who don't have a calling or a beloved trade like Grandma Tokoro? Care for those over 60 in Japan is a priority of state policy. And this becomes clear with an important example. It all starts with long-term care insurance. Every Japanese person over 40 pays monthly contributions, and this aid is received by people over 65 years old. When you turn 65, you go to a municipal institution. They evaluate you and determine what level of care you need, from minimal support to full medical attention. In total, there are 7 levels. But the most surprising level of support for the elderly are the employment centers for retirees. These are also called silver centers. The system has been operating since 1974. Throughout Japan, there are 1,300 such centers, in which more than 700,000 people are registered. And it is to one of these employment centers in the city of Nagasaki that I am heading. I wonder, where are we now? Oh look, what a beautiful hall!
This is a large conference hall. We hold our meetings here, and twice a month, the onboarding to the Silver Employment Center. Tomorrow, we will have one. Right here sit those who wish to enter the center, and they are given a talk. And sometimes, the room is used for purposes other than the usual ones. Over there, we have ping pong tables, so the conference hall transforms into a ping pong room. We try to hold various meetings here for different reasons. And do you know mahjong in Russia?
Yes, of course.
These are mahjong tables. We started with 4, but there were so many interested people that now we have 8. We organize games twice a month. Up to 30 people come, and it gets quite rowdy here during the game. And this is the computer room. Right now it's a bit messy, but here we teach computer courses. There are various trainings on smartphones or computer courses for Word and Excel. We also have a projector here for that.
And does the problem of telephone fraud exist?
In Russia, it is very common for different scammers to call the elderly and demand money from them.
Does that problem exist in Japan? And do you help people in any way? Do you explain to them how to behave?
Yes, it does exist. We have a lot of telephone scam. And are there classes where older people are taught to recognize scammers and to counter them? Right now, in our center, we don't do that specifically. But we explain it, not in the courses, but in informative materials and brochures. Here, the so-called scam methods are described. And over here, we have announcements for different events hanging. Sometimes we hold courses on how not to become a victim of scammers in general. It's just that people here don't only come to work. They can also simply gather, chat, and have fun. We have many events of that type.
But despite everything, the employees and clients of the Silver Centers don't just entertain themselves. Retirees come here in search of work.
We place our clients in all kinds of work. Pruning, weeding, home cleaning, work under domestic service contracts, park management, agricultural labor. If there are those who know how to use mechanical lathes, we also find work for them. In addition, there is painting and carpentry.
In your opinion, what is the main reason why older people, instead of resting during retirement, traveling, staying at home, or watching television, why do they still prefer to work in Japan?
For older people, it is very important to maintain the bond with the local community, with society in general, and to continue to be part of it. Our employment center for seniors is for people over 60 years old, although now there are plans to increase the retirement age. The average age of the members of our center is about 75 years. We want to make our members active retirees so that people work part-time, have free time, and continue socializing. So that they're not left out of life just because a certain job is no longer within their reach due to age.
In summary, the state takes care of retirees, but in this, there is a clear political calculation. In a country where 1 out of 3 voters is over 65 years old, the government does what the seniors want, because they vote. Something tells me that the older voter will not vote for a government that pays little and does not install comfortable elevators in the subway.
It must be said that among the elderly population, there's a fairly high voter turnout. Currently, the governing party is the Liberal Democratic Party, the LDP. At the same time, elderly politicians predominate in it. There is even the expression silver democracy. This is a situation in which the LDP remains in power, largely thanks to the support of older voters, whose interests basically they represent.
So for example, if we take welfare.
For example, if we talk about social spending, it is obvious that older people are interested in more resources being allocated to their needs. Therefore, they continue to vote actively so that their interests remain a priority. The LDP supports this policy, since older people are its largest voting base.
But despite the fact that the Japanese want to be active and independent even during retirement, 7 million pensioners need constant care. And someone has to perform that care, changing diapers, spoon feeding, lifting from bed. These people, the care workers, currently number 2 million. That is to say, almost 3 times less than those who need to be cared for. There is an evident deficit, and according to forecasts, it will only grow. Despite the fact that the state takes care of retirees, it does not think much about social workers. Young people do not have much desire to enter this industry. The work is hard, and they pay little. The salary is about 340,000 yen a month, which with bonuses equals about $2,300. It is lower than the country's average. They don't stay in this job for long. More than half leave within the first 3 years. In the first year, due to burnout and conflicts, 40% of social workers leave. As a result, the elderly themselves stay in the industry. Young people do not enter the sector. Currently, the elderly are cared for by those who are already past 70 or 80 years old. It is a vicious circle. Low prestige work, low wages, heavy labor. That's why there is no staff. Since there is no staff, the workload increases and people leave even faster. Even here, the Japanese seem to have found a way out. And yes, it's about caretaker robots. I arrived at the robotics laboratory of Waseda University in Tokyo. Here they are dedicated to the development of AI Rec, a giant humanoid robot. Teaching it to do what nurses do, turning older people over, helping them dress, get out of bed, and even prepare food. This is funded by the Japanese government. The goal is to create by the year 2050 a robot that lives alongside humans and cares for them.
Here is our laboratory. Here are our robots. These are robots with artificial intelligence. Come in, please. In Japan, it is customary to take off your shoes, so please put on the slippers. My name is Yushi.
Hello, a pleasure.
He is Takuma.
Nice to meet you.
And she is Nisa.
This robot analyzes the data flow from the sensors and the camera and puts a sock on her.
The robot's sensors are used to identify joints, and it has a tactile sensor on the thumb that gives the order of how much force to apply. And then, the robot integrates all the information obtained in the process.
Nurses and caregivers lean over exactly the same way when putting a sock on a patient. Our goal is for this robot to be used as a replacement in such situations. Currently, it works only with socks, but in the future, we want to expand its functionality to any type of clothes.
Let's see. Now, this robot is going to put a sock on the girl.
For older people who cannot do it by themselves, whether due to age or trauma, there is a special robot that helps do it.
Hey, but wait. In reality, this is not going to put any sock on you like that. Meaning, see, someone has to first put a special sock on the fingers, toes.
The difficulty lies in calculating how the sensor should work. The most complex movement a robot can do is manipulative, meaning everything related to hands. That's why they started with the simplest thing, putting on socks. And later will come what can also be put on quite simply, aprons, and then outer clothing. Because in reality, there is a very complex set of movements involved.
Okay, this attempt was not successful.
That's how the robot recognizes the position of the sock and the person's foot. It analyzes the data flow from the sensors and the camera and puts on the sock.
This is the AI REC robot. We can regulate the rigidity of its moving parts. Thanks to this, interaction with people becomes safer. Of course, sometimes some problems can arise, but if a sufficient smoothness is configured, the robot will not cause harm to people or animals. You can touch it. Now it's operating in soft mode.
Yes, it's true.
This is one of the technologies we use to ensure safe interaction. Especially during physical contact with a human being.
She is going to show now how it happens.
Let's see.
With this, the movement is completed.
Friends, now this robot is going to turn me over on my side. A fairly primitive movement. I'm not sure if this can help someone on a massive scale, but let's see how deftly it turns me on my side. Well, go ahead, little friend. Wow, how it's staring at me. I choose meat in the market more or less like this, without a rush examining each piece. Well, go ahead. Look. Is that all? No, it's super weak. What a fiasco. It didn't turn me. Has it finished already? Well, that's it. I'll do it myself. Should I take off my sweater? Maybe it doesn't like it. Well, it's just that I'm simply not helping it. No. No, I am too heavy for it. In reality, it pushes very weakly. You have to apply a lot of effort yourself to be able to turn over. The girl in the demonstration, since it's apparently her robot, turns herself over very deftly, but in reality, if you are paralyzed or something hurts and you can't turn over by yourself, it of course does not turn you over in any way. She looks at it, of course, with such love-struck eyes. See? Now she is going to turn over herself. She already started tilting her legs. It doesn't even touch her with its arms. See? She is applying effort directly. Meaning, if you don't do this by yourself, in its current state, of course, it cannot turn you over anywhere. When will the robot be able to replace a human being precisely in the physical aspect? When will it be able to replace a caregiver? When will it be able to fully help around the house?
Specifically in how many years, it's hard to say. I think the process will go gradually. Robots will increasingly enter our homes. First, AI will be integrated into furniture and household appliances. It will provide certain services adapted to a specific user. And gradually, universal robots will appear that will be able to do everything, directly in a single device.
For such robots, what task is considered the most difficult?
It seems to me that the most difficult task in the development of assistant robots and robots for daily support is ensuring user safety. Precisely for that reason, our robot has a very soft mechanism. It can interact very safely with people.
If we talk about patients with some kind of injury, many of them want to receive a certain empathy. They receive that empathy, that compassion, and those emotions from a person. Can a robot be emotional? Do you contemplate or design any type of emotional support from the robot that it can provide to the patient?
Yes, I consider that in the process of interaction with people, emotions are very important. When developing this robot, a design was thought of that does not cause fear in people. It is short in stature, the body is made of soft materials, and the face is a bit cute, as if one could make friends with this robot. Appearance is the first step. I think this robot will easily enter a person's life. Currently, among our researches, the priority is to ensure the physical and emotional safety of users. And our researches aim precisely at that.
Are these robots being implemented, for example, in nursing homes?
This specific robot does not yet work in nursing homes, but we aim for that in the future.
The Japanese government invests millions in technological development. 80% of Japanese see the use of robots in medicine positively. And it seems that the solution is there. However, researchers who observe robots in real nursing homes say otherwise. The robot designed to lift patients turned out to be too cumbersome. They stopped using it after a few days. The Beppu robot required time to charge, and instead of saving time, created new tasks. And the main problem is that robots do not reduce work, they change its nature. Before, the caregiver lifted the patient and talked to them. Now, she sets up a machine. Before, she devised activities. Now, she turns on Pepper. Human interaction is replaced by technology maintenance. The Philippines literally exports nurses and caregivers to the entire world. Indonesia and Vietnam, too. People are willing to come, but Japan is not ready to receive them. Since 2008, the EPA program, or Economic Partnership Agreement, has been operating. It is an economic partnership agreement with the Philippines, Indonesia, and Vietnam. The nurses arrive, learn Japanese, and work in hospitals. But to stay, they need to pass a national exam in Japanese, with medical kanji that sometimes even the Japanese themselves fail to decipher. In short, very few manage to pass this test. It's easier to learn Python and earn a lot more in an IT company than as a caregiver. But there is another problem: technical internships. It sounds beautiful. Japan teaches a profession to foreigners and they return home with new skills. But in reality, it's just a wrapper to attract cheap labor to the country. Interns work on farms, factories, and nursing homes. Salaries are low and conditions are harsh. They cannot change employers. The visa is tied to a specific company. Don't like it? Go back to your country. In 2023, nearly 10,000 interns simply ran away. They preferred to become illegal immigrants rather than continue working under those conditions. At the same time, fear toward migrants is rising. In July 2025, a Vietnamese intern took the life of a woman in the city of Amari. He stole the equivalent of about $70 in yen from her. In response, a wave of protests against foreign workers swept across the country. And now, people don't have much of a desire to go to Japan anymore. In the city of Kawaguchi on Honshu Island, where about 2,000 foreigners of Kurdish origin live, half of the local population feels unsafe. Fear of newcomers is fueled by the media, although there are no data showing out-of-control migrant criminality. And it turns out that Japan could solve the problem of staff shortages in elderly care through migrants, but society is not ready to accept them. And current programs for attracting foreign workers work from bad to worse. But even though the Japanese live longer than anyone else on the planet, death overtakes them anyway. Here, a special relationship toward it exists, which is very difficult for us to understand. And it begins with preparation for death. Is that the post office?
Yes.
Is it open today?
Yes, apparently so. People are inside.
Go buy stamps.
Let's go. Look, this is a neighborhood of older people. And very logically, right here at the post office, there is a poster hanging that says, "Shouldn't you already be thinking about where you are going to be buried? Prepare your grave in advance, so to speak. And, well, here are the necessary phone numbers, please."
That kind of advertising gives the impression that the Japanese take death quite lightly. But everything is much more complex. In Japan, there is a saying, "One is born Shinto, but dies Buddhist." It is not a metaphor. That is how life is structured. Shintoism is the ancestral Japanese religion. It takes care of everything bright: the birth of a child, the first visit to the temple, weddings, festivities, harvests. But Shintoism has a taboo, and that is death. They call it kegare, meaning impurity or contamination. Contact with a corpse defiles a person. Precisely for this reason, when someone dies in a house, the Shinto altar is covered with white paper, so that the spirits of the ancestors do not come into contact with death. And that's where Buddhism comes in. 9 out of 10 Japanese funerals are Buddhist. The monk recites the sutras, the body is cremated, and the relatives pass the remains into the urn, handing the bones to one another with chopsticks. By the way, it is exactly for this reason that passing food with chopsticks is forbidden in Japan. It is reminiscent of funerals. Then the journey begins. For 49 days, the soul wanders between worlds. Every 7 days, it goes through different trials. The family performs ceremonies to help the deceased navigate this path. On the 49th day, the main ceremony takes place. It is believed that this is precisely when the soul achieves reincarnation. Buddhism teaches that death is not the end. It is a transition, part of an infinite cycle. But here is a contradiction. Buddhist philosophy speaks of death calmly, yet people avoid the subject. The Japanese word shi, or for, sounds exactly like the word death. For this reason, in some Japanese hospitals, there are no 4th floors.
This is the altar of the ancestors. It was placed this way next to the tansu, what we today would call a built-in wardrobe. And it was opened during prayer or during major festivities. In general, of course, when talking about religion in Japan, it is often very misunderstood from a European perspective. The Japanese, despite the fact that both Shintoism and Buddhism have interpenetrated, have coexisted here for too long for anyone to distinguish certain traditional things, what came from Buddhism and what from Shintoism. But the main aspect of this entire system was the belief in the cult of ancestors, the ones who primarily guide you through life, who take care of the philosophy of your existence and your being, are your ancestors. your family. That is why they bury their ashes all together, and in memory of the ancestors, mandatorily at home, especially in large houses. In small houses it will be simpler, but there will still be this altar, even if symbolic, dedicated to the memory of all your ancestors. And by the way, this is one of the reasons why in Japan it was so widespread. The Japanese, in principle, were quite literate compared to many other peoples, even in the Middle Ages, because at the very least you had to know how to write your own name if you had one. Not everyone had the possibility of having a last name. We can tell we are entering the house of distinguished people because they had a last name. They mandatorily had an altar like this one. Now that it is New Year, it has New Year decorations. This is a mochi with mandarins, and the statue of the thousand-armed goddess Canon with a halo behind her back.
Just half a century ago, 3 generations of Japanese lived under the same roof. Children took care of parents, and that was the norm.
Generation families were.
It used to be pretty common to see families made up of 3
There was
generations.
some expectation that as
Therefore, children expected that, upon growing up, they would take care of their parents. Representatives of the older generation were never left alone.
This tradition has faded over time.
However, over time, this tradition disappeared.
There's actually a lot.
Today,
of
we see that a fairly high number of elderly people live in solitude.
right, and given that.
And taking into account that one of the spouses sooner or later dies, it is not uncommon for the elderly person to be left in total isolation.
And it's not that young people don't care for the elderly. In Japanese memory, mountains are not just a landscape. They are the setting of an ancient legend called Ubasute. It literally means the abandoning of the old woman. According to legends, in times of famine, families would take their elderly mothers to the mountains and leave them there to die. The son would carry his mother on his back and climb to the summit. Along the way, the old woman would break twigs and drop them on the ground so that her son could find his way back home. The legend was immortalized in the name of Mount Ubasuteyama in Nagano Prefecture. In 1983, director Shohei Imamura filmed the movie The Ballad of Narayama about this, which won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. Did this happen in reality? The Kodansha Encyclopedia, the main academic reference on Japan, classifies Ubasute more as a legendary motif than an actual custom. However, proving that the practice did not exist at all is also impossible, especially during years of famine.
I remember that in my childhood, I read a Japanese tale called Ubasuteyama. In it, they talked about an ancient custom. When a person reached a certain age, they were supposedly taken to the mountains and left there.
When they reach a certain age, there was a tradition that we would go to this mountain and throw them away, right? And so this mountain was.
That mountain was considered the place where they sent the elderly to get rid of them.
But it turns out.
But one day, a great misfortune occurred in that village, so its inhabitants had to return to the mountain and ask for help from one of the elders they had left there. In short, the meaning of this story is that older people must be respected because they possess a rich life experience and wisdom, and they bring great benefit to society. From childhood, we are taught to treat the older generation with respect, to value their knowledge, and to understand that we have a lot to learn from them. I believe this respect for older people remains an important part of the culture.
In Japanese folklore, the elderly were taken to the mountains. Nowadays, nobody takes anyone away. In modern Japan, a lot of time and money is dedicated to social services, and retirees themselves lead an active lifestyle. But this does not save them from a lonely death. Elderly Japanese people often die in solitude, and their bodies go a long time without anyone discovering them. And this is also a very Japanese phenomenon, to which they have even given its own name here, Kotukushi, or lonely death. In 2024, the Japanese counted the number of Kotukushi cases for the first time. During that year, 76,000 cases of lonely death were registered. Furthermore, 4,500 bodies were found a month after the passing or even later, and nobody during that time visited the person or discovered the corpse. The bodies are found in the 3 most common scenarios, and none of them involve the arrival of relatives. The first is when neighbors start complaining about the smell. The second, when mail overflows the mailbox and mail carriers and social workers begin to suspect something. In the third case, only the bank notices that money has stopped being withdrawn from the account. And here, social services intervene again. Employees go to check if the person is alive or dead. Japan tries to fight Kotukushi in some way. Mail carriers, for an additional fee, visit the elderly once a month. Volunteers in orange vests patrol residential areas. Motion sensors are installed in apartments. If there is no activity for too long, the system alerts relatives. In Shinjuku district, social events are held for lonely elderly people. And in the Tokyo suburb of Tokiwadaira, a special hotline operates. Most Kotukushi cases are recorded in Tokyo, around 7,700. In Osaka, Japan's second largest city, around 5,300. Yes, friends, the corpses of lonely elderly people are not found in remote villages, but in the largest megacities with the best infrastructure in the world. How to solve the Kotukushi problem remains unclear. According to data from the National Institute of Population and Social Security Research, by the year 2050, almost 11 million Japanese over the age of 60 will live alone. This is 1.5 times more than in the year 2020. 1 out of every 3 households in the country will be a lonely elderly person. At the same time, in Japan, there is an industry that is not usually talked about: companies that clean apartments after lonely deaths. In Japanese, Tokushu Seiso, which means special cleaning. When a body is found after a week, a month, or sometimes after a year, someone has to go and clean up. But cleaning is only part of the job. They also sort through the belongings of the deceased: photographs, letters, diaries. For this reason, many do not call themselves cleaners, but organizers of memory. Some landlords now even buy special insurance in case a tenant dies in solitude and the apartment has to be cleaned. Lonely death has become an insurable event. Perhaps this is the answer to the question of why the Japanese live longer than anyone else. The fear of a lonely death. When your corpse, abandoned by everyone, is picked up by a sanitation service? One way or another, life as a retiree in Japan definitely cannot be called boring. Despite a mountain of problems, all the elderly people I spoke with look happy. And at the same time, each of them sees everything in a completely different way. But there is a question for which they do not have a ready answer. What will happen next? Japan is aging faster than it manages to adapt to it. I wanted to hear what the protagonists of my video think about it.
Yes, it's scary where all this is heading, but what can you do? Nothing, I suppose. Society has already been united since the Edo period. People learned to cooperate, and now we have to think about how to reverse all of this. Otherwise, Japan will have no future. It will simply be its end. Even oneself won't be able to protect themselves in a country like this.
Our future is solitude. We have no hope in anything else. The most joyful thing left for us old folks is to travel somewhere, go for a walk, get some fresh air. The elderly are becoming more numerous, and the burden always falls on the youth. It would be good if everything went back to how it was before, when there were many children. But now many don't even get married. I think due to the low birth rate, the next generation will have a hard time in the future. We ourselves lived in a good era. This is a problem for all of Japan. And to today's youth, I would like to wish them more courage.
What awaits Japan? What do you think? I don't think Japan will fall into decline. There are many different opinions, but even in today's society, one can live with spirit and joy. One shouldn't think that if something goes slowly, then that's it, there is no future. Personally, I believe in a bright future.
By the year 2050, the place of current Japanese retirees will be occupied by the generation that is between 40 and 50 years old today. The population of Japan will shrink by almost a quarter, from 124 to 97 million. On one hand, old age in Japan can truly be a joy. Many retirees after 60 finally start a new life, dedicating themselves to what they wanted to do in their youth. But on the other hand, companies that clean the abandoned corpses of the elderly are already thriving in Japan today. There is simply no one to care for the elderly. The state lacks hands. And bringing those hands from abroad on a massive scale is something they still do not dare to do. But the Japanese know how to surprise. If someone invents something similar to the elixir of eternal youth, I am sure they will do it precisely in Japan. Friends, give it a like, leave your comments on what you think. Would you like to grow old in Japan? And how are the elderly treated in your countries? And of course, subscribe to the channel. My most amazing trips come out here. See you next time.